Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Between the Lines, where we give you news and commentary and analysis on what the media won't say. We try to take a fair look at both sides and come to some conclusions about what's exactly going on underneath the story and how that affects us going forward. So hang tight. Today, we've got an exciting one. Today on the Dominion voting scandal, they released a whole bunch of text messages internally to Fox News with their hosts, with Rupert Murdoch, everybody that is in the top executive branch, talking about how they literally didn't believe anything that Donald Trump said about the election being stolen. And there was quite a lot of, shall we say, agita from the journalists who didn't want to expose themselves lying for Donald Trump. And what is exposed here at the core is the real banality of Fox News. These guys are in it for the money, folks. All of those texts basically are concerned about the stock price, concerned about losing viewership to the new news networks that are out that basically trying to replace them in terms of being on the right of the right wing, like One American News, and their real concern is not that they're lying, but that they are essentially going to not lie enough to keep the people that are Donald Trump supporters happy. And bottom line, it came all the way down from Rupert Murdoch. It went through all of the line people in the executive producers and came straight out onto the floor of the programs where the people like Tucker Carlson and Hannity, all of them basically said on their texts that they knew that this was all bullshit, that the Kraken lady was lying, that they knew that they couldn't say this without really kind of biting their tongue because it was all bullshit. And they did it anyway. Not only did they do it, they did it convincingly. So let's take a look at how the media's been covering it today. And I want to tell you on the left, there were a lot of happy ranching ponies out there. They just ate this shit up. They made a big point about making it a leading story. They wanted to make sure that everybody knew that Fox News was on the hook for $1.6 billion. And not only is the proof right there in front of them, the lawyers are basically filing to say that there's no reason to go to trial. The evidence is right there in front of you. Just go ahead and write the check and be done with it. And all this giddy speculation about, oh, what's going to happen to Fox News if they owe $1.6 billion? Is Rupert Murdoch going to go bust? Are we going to get rid of right wing media? We wish. I can tell you for a fact that if Fox News dies, there will be 7 hydras in its place, and this doesn't end. There's a lot of deep-seated and deep-rooted discontent that is pushing this narrative forward. It's not just Fox News that is essentially looking for a way to exploit people and make a buck, which is absolutely true. There's no better way to sell gold bars and Depends underwear than to scare the shit out of old white people. But that's not really what's driving this. And Fox News will get by, I'm sure. They'll end up with a big fine, I'm sure. People will call it groundbreaking, I'm sure. And the very next day, Trump will lie, they will eat it up, and they'll put it forward. So that's kind of where they're at in on the left wing. They were basically all over this all day long. On the right, not a peep, of course. This is a cutout of the Fox News website at around noon today, and not a thing. I mean, not even a whimper. Fox did release a statement. I'll show you that next. So the network released a spokesperson statement that said Dominions mischaracterized the record and cherry picked the quotes and stripped the concept context and spilled considerable ink on facts that are irrelevant to the fact that we can say whatever the fuck we want, whatever the fuck we want to whoever we want about whatever we want. And it's typical, throwing up a smokescreen. The fact is, they are in deep trouble on this case. They're either going to have to settle and eat a lot of crow, or they are going to get fined a ton. And maybe in 10 years, Dominion will see some money out of it, but it'll take that long to squeeze it out of them. But this goose is cooked, folks. I don't see any way that the judge is going to walk away and say, Fox is allowed to basically um, promote an insurrection, knowing that it's an insurrection built on lies, and pretend that it's not to the entire American public. So I think that in terms of this particular lawsuit and this particular situation, um, we're really going to see some major, major announcement for either Fox settling out of court for a undisclosed amount, or this thing's going to go and it's going to cause a stir in the media. Now, what I want to get to today is something much deeper. I want to get to, how did we get to this place in the first place? How did we get to the point where one of the most trusted names in news, literally the representative of the right of this country, more than half, or probably less than half, but somewhere around half of the country, turns to Fox News to understand what it is that they stand for, to stand in their own echo chamber of what they believe, what they think is important, and to have that laid out for them. And how did we get to the point where the mouthpiece for that can literally not care about what it's saying and only care about its stock price and the competition, and is willing to lie at any length to make sure that they get the viewership versus their competitors? And I'll tell you where it all stems from. So, way back in '87, when I was just a little whippersnapper and just becoming familiar with what politics was, and we all looked up to this guy, the great actor, Bedtime with Bonzo, Ronald Reagan. He led our country almost to the brink of nuclear war, but we won't talk about that. But there was a push, or there was a law in place called the Fairness Doctrine. And the Fairness Doctrine basically said that when the media is presenting a news story, and to be a credible news source and to be labeled as a news content creator, they basically have to present both sides, and they just don't report opinion. They have to focus on facts. They have to show their reasoning. And when they say something about somebody politically, they have to inform them that they said it. And they basically have to make sure that they have some accountability to the news that they're putting forward. Now, this was only applying to broadcast media. So if you had a station, an airwave like NBC, ABC, CBS, those big guys, they were the ones that were under this edict, because there was no huge amount of outlets that could give you a broad coverage of all the different perspectives. This was coming out right as the right wing radio had started, as we had just started to become cableized, and CNN had just started, and the world was opening up to a myriad of possibilities in the news. And none of those outlets would have been affected by this existing fairness doctrine, but instead of taking that fairness doctrine and essentially applying it to cable news and to the right wing radio, they basically said, no, you know what, we're just going to get rid of it all, because there's plenty of opinion out there for people to find, not realizing that what they were creating was the foundation for the creation of echo chambers, where people go and seek only the news they're looking for and have it repeated to them again and again and again until they believe it's the God's honest truth. And it doesn't matter whether it's factual, it doesn't matter whether it's corroborated, and it doesn't matter whether the people that you listen to are more worried about their stock price than they are about whether you are going to go out and storm the Capitol. So um, that's where we went wrong, folks. That fairness doctrine. It really is something that held the integrity of the media in place, and they really are the third rail of this country in terms of maintaining our democracy. We look to the media to check and hold in check the political powers that are trying to always get what they want. And this totally cut them at the knees. Um, this allowed essentially for the profit motive to take hold and to pen up and corral the opinions of people, reflect it to them, feed it to them, force feed it to them until they were sick to their stomachs and became insane. And that's how we got where we're at, folks. Not just on the right. The right is hugely responsible. Fox News is hugely responsible. I, for the life of me, cannot understand how an Australian business person literally decides what America's right thinks. And I'm not joking. This is how it is. Rupert Murdoch steers the boat of American right wing politics. It's an assertion. It's my opinion. I'll probably not be able to, prove it, but you all know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. Um, so how we got to this point? Yes, social media made it easy. Facebook, YouTube, just basically using algorithms to feed back on yourself and give you all of the sugar that you want, get that endorphin hit, get that adrenaline hit over and over and over again, make you feel better about the crazy ass person that you really are. That's, just a fact of technology. It was a fact of technology we ran into instead of trying to, um, you know, avoid or try and mitigate. And so, what do we do about that? There's been calls for restoring the fairness doctrine, basically making it part of the responsibility of the FCC to monitor and control that when the news is presented as news and as truth, not opinion, not commentary, not propaganda, that it is at least balanced and factually based. I'm all for that. I think that would be great. I think we actually need to go a step further and we need to look at the anti propaganda laws that were in effect as well during World War II. And what the fairness doctrine applies to is people who have good motive and good intent, keeping them in line and making sure that they, are accountable for what they do. The propaganda laws are for people who do not have good intent. These are for people who realize that if they can scare the crap out of old white people, they'll buy more Depends and gold bars and stick to watching their channel 24/7 if they can only lie to them enough about how the world is as bad as their deepest, darkest fears are. And that has to change. That has to change on the right. It has to change on the left. We are on the left, and I'm part of that base. Essentially, I do bias to the left. We're deathly afraid that these guys are going to start an insurrection, take over Christofascism. We're going to have um, Sean Hannity in, Nazi boots and in a uniform, you know, with Tucker Carlson, whipping people into slave pens. Um, that's part of the left's way to sell things too. And it's just not a good way to live, folks. I think we're learning that now. We need to change that. We need to actually start getting ourselves accountable. And I don't know how to do it exactly. I think there may be ways for us to, promote a new fairness doctrine, or at least be aware of it. And that's really what I want to do today, is make us aware of where this comes from, and the problems that it causes, because it is literally leading us to a civil war. It's leading us to where we hate each other enough that we're willing to not be part of the same group. And when that happens, all bets are off, because it doesn't matter anymore who's right and who's wrong. It's who killed my brother, and who put my aunt in jail, and who took away the rights of my children, and who made my daughter have an abortion with a wire hanger. um, that's where it's coming to. And I don't want to see that. I want us to see a better world. So, whenever you get the opportunity, talk about the Fairness Doctrine. Talk about why we are trapped in such echo chambers, and why we need to fight our way out of them. But that's it for today. We'll see what happens with Fox. $1.6 billion. That's a lotto ticket anybody would want to cash. That's it for today. You guys have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow with the next piece of news.